Hi, Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It's Friday, October 25th, and I know it's been quite a number of weeks since I've made a video. Time just goes by. This past weekend, I was at a wonderful retreat. The weekend before, I was doing family things. The weeks just flew by. I just didn't get a video in, but I knew as the timing was going to work out, this was going to be the time to do it. So here I am. Let's just stay focused on the here and now and not the past. Because I have a lot of exciting things to talk to you and share with you about. There's retreat things to talk about in two different ways. There's WorksByABC things to talk about. So I'm just going to jump right in. And I'm going to start with part of the explanation of the title. You could probably guess. In 2018, we had the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. In 2019, we had the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. And the time is right to start the planning for the 2020 New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. So I am here to announce that the plans are in the works, and I am going forward with it. We will be back at the same hotel we were at this past year, which is the Hampton Inn Woodbridge. I've already opened up and sent invites to all those attendees who were in 2019. What that means is I don't actually know how many spots I have available, but I am encouraging anyone who might be interested in coming to get their name on a waiting list. Some basic details. The New Jersey Flosstube Retreat will be in Woodbridge, New Jersey on July 30th through August 2nd. It will be held at the Hampton Inn Woodbridge. It's about 4 miles away from Needleworkers Delight, which is a very large store that many people enjoy shopping at and return to more than once during the retreat days. The stitching room will be open starting on Thursday afternoon, about 1 o'clock. Times are a little open at this point. So starting Thursday afternoon through probably midnight, Friday and Saturday from about 8 a.m. till midnight, Sunday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Cost will be $100. It'll include a pizza dinner and lunch on Sunday and assorted stitchy goodies. The number is going to be around 100 people, about the same size as it was last year, and that's simply limited to the size of the room that we have. If you are interested in being a part of this, what you are doing right now is getting your name on a waiting list. Those that I've already sent the invites to at this time have about 2 weeks to get back to me. So I don't even know when I might know for sure I have open spots, and I might do a little bit of rolling admissions. If somebody gets back to me and says, no, I can't, I know I'm not going to be able to come, I might immediately start taking people from the wait list. I just need to see how the next few weeks are going to play out. But I know from someone who's run a retreat, you just never know unless you get your name on a list. And even if you don't get in the next couple of weeks, you don't know what the next few months are going to play out to be. Again, I know this from experience, from running a retreat and from going through. People have things that come up and they sign up all excited to be a part of it, and then life happens. How do you sign up to be on the waiting list? You send an email to njflosstuberetreat@gmail.com. If you can put in the subject line waitlist, that would just help me out because I'm getting a lot of emails coming to that email address at this time. That would get you on my waiting list, and we'll go forward from there. So this will be for the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. The question always comes is, do you have to make Flosstube videos to be a part of this? No. If you are watching this video right now, you are a part of the Flosstube community. To me, Flosstubers are not just the people who make videos. Flosstubers are the people who are part of this community. Some of us make the videos, some of us watch the videos and comment on the videos, and some of us do all three. So that's why I've kept the name, is that I have been so inspired and so fortunate to be a part of this community, and I just want to bring the community together, or at least a small portion of the community. There's no way to bring everyone together. So again, all this information will be down below. so you don't need to like go back. And again, if you are watching this video and you did not come in 2019, but you're interested in coming in 2020, this is about putting your name on a wait list. And if you came in 2019, you should have gotten an email from me at this point. And if you haven't, please be in touch, or check your spam folder. We should say it that way. So that's my first piece of excitement, is that we're moving forward. I know, like, summertime, end of July, beginning of August seems forever from now. And at the same time, this was around the same time I started planning this last year, and I'm glad for the months ahead. And it certainly gives me something to look forward to, and I imagine plenty of you as well. So, having gotten that out of the way, I'm excited. So, cool. Next thing is to talk about WorksByABC, because I have new patterns to share with you today. And the first one to share with you is also sharing what have I been stitching on. I shared this in my last video, or shared where I was. It is now a finished piece of black work. And I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. I call this, trying to give you a little bit of a close-up. So I stitch this, actually, there's a story to go with this, but let me just share with you. So this is the pattern called Pomegranate Lace in Black Work. You can purchase this pattern on my WorksByABC Etsy store. It will also be coming soon through Hoffman Distributors, so LNSs can purchase it as well. But let me tell you an interesting story. I don't remember where I was at the point when I made my last video, but I'm pretty sure, well, I don't think I shared this the last time because I don't think I was at the border. I was stitching this in Anchor Black. I had a skein of it. People always talk about Anchor Black. I think when I started it, I had just been watching someone's video. It might have been Jessie Marie Does Stuff, who's a big proponent of Anchor Black. I just thought, why not, you know? So I had all the center part is stitched in Anchor Black. I started working on the border. I couldn't even tell you which direction was top. It's completely symmetrical. And pretty soon after I started the border, I came to realize that that one skein of Anchor Black was not going to last the whole border. And I was at a period of time where I was not going to be able to get up to my LNS, Needleworker's Delight, to get Anchor Black. It just, like, I wanted to finish the project. I didn't want to put it aside until the next time I could get up there. So I thought, well, I at least might try this. Took out some DMC 310. Decided to do, you know, a strand of Anchor, strand of DMC, strand of Anchor, strand of DMC. Did that for a little bit. You can't tell the difference. I mean, I'm looking under a magnifier as I was very carefully keeping track of where's my DMC, where's my Anchor, what am I stitching with now? What is coming up next? I was very careful in alternating them. And I mean, sure, you can't tell it from a distance, but I'm here to tell you, as I work with a magnifier, you can't even tell it under a magnifier. Now, it'd be very interesting if I was cross-stitching this, whether you'd be able to tell a difference. That would be fascinating. But I'm here to tell you that some of the border is in DMC and some of it is in Anchor, and it looks perfectly fine. I really like the way it turned out. The fabric is a solo dye from Silk Weaver, and the color is not coming across clearly. It's a little bit more reddish. It's definitely a purpley plum. I think that's what I would call it. It was pretty close to and I'm trying to remember which color it was, like a regular Zweigart, and I meant to be able to know what color that was so that I could let you all know that. Because in retrospect, I really shouldn't be stitching models on like solo dyes. I should be stitching them on fabric that you could get if someone, you know, really loved my color combination. But as with all of my patterns, you know, I always write things like this pattern could be stitched with any fabric and thread, because, and I even write, do not limit yourself to black thread just because it's called black work. Although this one, because my last big black work piece, Gossamer Lace, I did in white thread. I did want to do this one in black. It was what I was in the mood for. So here it is. This is the first pattern I'm presenting to you today. Now, I just made that comment of it would be interesting if it was in cross stitch, whether you'd be able to tell the alternating DMC versus anchor. Well, if anyone really wants to try it, the pattern is also available. Oh, just noticing. The pattern is also available in cross stitch, and I need to reprint. I fixed this, but I didn't print it out correctly. It says pomegranate lace in cross stitch. So the pattern is also available as a cross stitch pattern. If you are not a blackwork fan, but you are interested in, you like the design, the symmetry of it, it is based on a piece of filet lace, a piece of lace that I purchased and just loved the pattern, the design of it. And yeah, thought those looked kind of like pomegranates. So that's where the name came from. So you can get this either as a cross stitch pattern or a blackwork pattern. Another pattern that I have come out with, yes, I've lost the order here, is called Victoria Nosegay. I saw this little floral motif in a book that was from the 1880s, so very Victorian, and it was a good exercise for myself in color and placement and everything, and I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. It is, to me, a pretty good small size. I mean, it's a little larger than, well, depending what you call small. The stitch count is 88 by 87, almost square, and it potentially can make a great small for an exchange. If you were doing it on like 32 count, it's 5.5 by 5.5 inches, so maybe a little bit big for a small, but maybe something that is appealing to you. Or go a little bit on 36 count, you get it's down to a little bit under 5 inches by 5 inches. I just, especially as I look at it from a distance, it just really appeals to my eye. So Victoria Nosegay is what I'm calling this one, and again, available in my Etsy store now. And then the last one available for today, I have been stitching on. One of the things that I did share one picture on Instagram, and this was actually, I finished it when I was at StitchFest last weekend, so the stitching retreat. I meant to bring up the skein of thread. So this is stitched. The lighter green is actually a variegated green, but it's subtle, and the darker green is a solid. The variegated green is DMC. It's the DMC color variegations, which is not the colorists. The colorists, however you pronounce it, those are the skeins that are very, like the color changes are very dramatic. The color variations are where the colors are all from the same color family. And so these greens are it's just a very nice, subtle variation. When I decided that I wanted to stitch this with an overdye, I have wanted to give DMC color variations a try. I like the thread, and green is lovely. You know, in retrospect, I almost wish I kind of wish I had stitched this in a totally different color family, but it looks lovely on its own. The pattern I have called A Band Sampler Born in 1604. And that is because the bands of this sampler, and this will eventually get framed. Oh, I should have said, this one I plan to buy, and I will show it to you when it gets framed. I'm just so excited to get these patterns out. I'm not waiting till they're framed. One of those hoop finishes from Stay Home Stitches, and so I will share that with you once I get it ordered and in. This one I'm going to get a little frame for. I probably will be getting a custom sized frame, but because it's a model, I do want to make sure I have something that, you know, has the right dimensions to it. All the bands come from, and I have this showing on the back of the pattern, an old pattern book, and there's some pictures for you, from 1604. And the bands that were shown in that pattern book, there's no evidence that I could find that they were ever stitched in a sampler format like we know today, like a band sampler like this. They may have been. When they were published in a book like this, I think it was more likely that a band like this might show up on the cuff of a article of clothing, or on a decorative motif along the edge of a tablecloth, or on linens of some kind. What did they do with publications like that in 1604. I'm no expert here, but I don't think that there is any of these. Jeez, and I'm holding it upside down. Well, I guess it could go either way. I intended it to be like this, so the heart is right side up. The heart is supposed to be right side up. Other than the top band and the bottom band have, well, all the middle ones are clearly symmetrical. They could be upside down or right side up. The top and the bottom have a little bit more of a direction to them. I stitched this on a 36 count. I believe it's Picture This Plus Ale, but it's fabric that was given to me and I'm trying to remember the name of it. And I just used one thread. I think the coverage is fine. You know, that whole question of 36 count, do you use one thread or two thread? I use one thread because I get a little lazy. But it worked beautifully for this. I think maybe it has something to do with the fabric. So it's two colors. It's any two color. You could do this in two totally different colors, or you could do this with, as well, I mean, these are still two colors, as I did with a variegated thread and then a thread that complements that variegated thread. So there you go. Band sampler born in 1604. So these 4 patterns are brand new to my collection of patterns, and I am really excited to bring them to all of you. So please take a look. Now, in my last video, I had offered if you wanted to enter a giveaway, I'd be giving away a free copy of a pattern. It could be any one of my patterns. It could be one of those 4 or any previous ones. So as I have done in the past, I go old-fashioned when I do this. I love, everyone does it differently, but since I had to write down everyone's name anyway, I put strips of paper in a bowl and I pick out winners. And for this giveaway, I had asked you to tell me your favorite color. And while I was writing down names, I wrote down those colors anyway because I just thought it was something fun. So the first winner, we'll do 3, is Alita Casey. And she said her favorite color was turquoise. The next winner this one is Paula Lima, and she said blue, particularly DMC 797. And the third winner, we'll go with this one, is Katerina Kovakova. And she said cobalt blue. So look at that. All 3 of these were from the blue family. I was noticing, I briefly tried to do some observations about, was there any patterns to the number of, did more people like the blue family versus the other families? And there definitely, I wouldn't say more, but there was definitely a significant, I think if I counted that, when I tried to count what is the most popular, blue family definitely was the most popular, but I wouldn't say by a huge significant number, but there we go. Okay, what I will do for Alita, Katerina, and Paula, I will comment on your comments unless you happen to get in touch with me first. That would be awesome. WorksByABC@gmail.com. I will put that email address below. Now, for everybody, so if you weren't one of those 3 people, but you are interested in my patterns, or you just, oh, by the way, if you're new here, I design under the name WorksByABC, but if you're new here, what great timing, because guess what? WorksByABC is having a sale. Yes! So now through November 10th, 15% off all patterns, free US shipping. Why am I doing this? Let me tell you, little story. Well, I'm doing this about a week earlier than I really had intended, but that's okay. I realized I wanted to do this video now. I wanted to get new patterns out now, and so on. bare honesty here, folks. I, like many of you, probably have a difficult time when it comes to the time change. When it gets dark early, as it will not this weekend, but next weekend, or when the time changes. That first week or two is really hard for me. The evenings are rough. And I know other people suffer from this too. So my way of I try to think of the little things that could possibly help. And for some people, they go shopping. And if this encourages some extra shopping, so be it. If it helps my cause a little bit, wonderful. It's a little gift to you all and helps me out a little bit as well. So let's help each other together through the rough spots of daylight savings time. So Works by ABC. It's on Etsy. I will put in links for these 4 new patterns. All of my patterns I put out both as paper copies and as PDFs, so you can get it either way. Everything will be on sale. You don't need a coupon code. It'll just be automatic. I just make things as easy as possible for everyone through my Etsy store. And I look forward to seeing many of you pop on by. Moving right along, and I'm doing really good on time today, want to talk about StitchFest. Last weekend there were multiple retreats going on all at the same time across the country, which was just wonderful. And you may have at this point seen a number of Flosstube videos where people have talked about one or the other of them. I was at StitchFest, which is not Stitch West and which is not Midwest. StitchFest was held in Herndon, Virginia, which is to say outside of Washington, D.C., right near the Dulles Airport, if you're familiar with the area at all. This is the second year it happened. This is my first time attending it. It was a drive down the East Coast for me, about 4 hours if I had just gone straight, although I made some stops along the way. It was the perfect little getaway. About 45 people in attendance. I knew for sure 3 or 4 people going in, and that sort of helped calm the nerves, in that I wasn't going in, completely as a I don't know anyone kind of feeling. But once I got there, realized that I knew a whole bunch more, many of whom were people that had come to the New Jersey retreat. And so there was a familiarity from that sense. And then there were others that it was like, oh, yes, I met you at this retreat or that. And there was that Flosstube comfortableness of, you don't know me, but I watch you. And there was that was just wonderful. And I loved that. It was a quiet, low-key, it was basically 2 days. Friday and Saturday were the days we had the stitching room. A number of people arrived on Thursday. A number of people who were arriving from out of the area arrived on Thursday. So there was quite a group of us stitching in the hotel lobby on Thursday. And we went out, a whole bunch went out together for dinner on Thursday night, which was just wonderful. I'm afraid to name names because I feel like I'll forget people if I do, but I just do want to mention that I was rooming with Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and what a wonderful, Jessie, I love you, wonderful experience to be with her, and to have her. She had been at StitchFest the year before, so she sort of knew the ropes of what was going on. But also she was part of the DC Metro Stitchers, which is where this event comes from. So she just knew more of the people that were there. And I just appreciated her so much. And I just so enjoyed the time we spent together, and so many others. Ingeborg was there from the Netherlands. If you have followed her on Instagram, you have known she has seen more American history than most Americans I know, and certainly in a short period of time. And while I certainly loved seeing her at the first New Jersey Flosstube Retreat, this time was so special because we really got to sit and talk because I was doing so many other things at the New Jersey Retreat. And talk about someone that you wish lived closer. But there were so many others as well. Going out to meals with one another. On a Saturday morning, I ended up going to In Stitches, which is the LNS that is down there. It's about 40 minutes away. And just so appreciate the kindness of Lisa, the modern stitcher, who had put it out there saying, I'm going. If anyone wants a ride, I can fit 4 other people in my car. And just while I had my car there, just how nice it was to not have to drive there, and to go with other people. If you haven't figured me out by now, let me tell you, I'm not someone that has a whole lot of haul. I don't purchase a whole lot. I wasn't going for the sake of purchasing anything. I was going to be at LNS with other stitchers. And there were at least 2 of the people I was with, so it ended up being like 2 carloads of us, and at least 2 people found like unicorn charts of theirs, which is just so much fun when you're with people and they're excited because they found something, and a number of people were just excited to be purchasing fabric there. You know, when you get to purchase fabric in person and you can really compare the difference between this shade of tan and that shade of tan, and you see the difference as opposed to the luck of the draw when you're ordering it online. I did make one purchase there, and it was very purposeful. So I have started a tradition, and I like that it started in a very organic way and not purposeful, but it just started to happen. So now it's purposeful. That every retreat I go to, I must come away with something for a scissor fob. And one of this counts as a scissor fob, but also counts as a sweet gift. Ingeborg brought for everyone one of these Dutch shoes. It's got, a wooden shoe, little rabbit holding the Netherlands flag. Perfect. And it's intended to be a keychain or, what have you, but it also makes for a perfect scissor fob. And that's one of the first things I thought when when she was giving them. And then I realized, well, if I'm going on this trip to the LNS, what I should do is purchase a pair of scissors there. So I just picked out ones that I liked, rose gold scissors. And so from the LNS from near StitchFest, from Dear Ingeborg, this is my official souvenir from StitchFest, and I'm very pleased to add this to my collection. So very excited about that. Another sweet gift that was given out to everybody, Dina from Half Stitch Cross Stitch was there, and she brought thread drops for everybody. She had multiples, so I have 2 sets. I took 2 sets, and she was encouraging people to take more. Strawberries, flowers, beautiful colors. So appreciate the kindness of her in wanting to bring something for everybody, as Ingeborg did as well. What was I stitching on? Well, the first thing I did was finish the band sampler. I was actually so close. When I was stitching on this, left on Thursday, Wednesday night, and I was stitching more than I thought I was going to be stitching Wednesday night, and I had so little left. I was like, is this even worth bringing? Like, I could finish this up in less than an hour's time. And I thought, no, I do want to bring this. I want the satisfaction of having a finish at a retreat, which I did. So I first finished off that. And then, as it turned out, I brought, how do I say this? While other stitchers might have brought 4 different cross-stitch projects, I brought 4 different projects that were of different types. So I brought a cross-stitch project, but I also had brought and stitched on an embroidery project. I brought my tatting with me, worked on that for a short period of time, and then I even, in a very last-minute way, threw my bobbin lace in the car, wondering if anyone would be interested in seeing that, and I brought it in and did that for a little bit. So I bring the variety of needlework media with me, as much as I have on the go at any particular time. So after the band sampler was done, the Color Thesaurus project came out. This is, in some ways, feels like it's never going to get done, and in other ways I want it to get done, because boy, would I love to have this as a finish as a model. I mean, just because I would love to have it. The truth is, I pretty much only work on it at retreats and my monthly stitching days, so it feels like it's never going to get done. But I don't know when the last time I showed it. This is where I am right now. The needle minder is a Abby Topknot needle minder. Check out her shop. I know I stitched in the letters of the last row of blue here. I know I've been playing her. I need to get a lighter, these are two different shades of navy, both of which are actually too dark, although, they actually don't look too dark in this light, but in most lights they are really too dark. And I need to go a shade lighter. What else? I finished up here, started here. I need to make a decision that when I'm done with the blues, whether I'm going to go down and down below here are the greens, or whether I'm going to go up and up here are the pinks. But I need to make that decision. I should say soon. No, like for how often I work on this project, getting these others in will take some time, plus putting in the border. But I guess I need to decide which way I'm going to do border, top or bottom. Greens or pinks. Need to think about that. Anyway, this is where Color Thesaurus stands right now. It is such a good retreat project because there's no, I mean, sure, when I was doing the words, I did have to look at the pattern, but in general, there's a whole lot of stitching that can be done without looking at a pattern, without thinking. You get the thread out and you just do some crosses, and you could participate in conversations and not have to think too much. I also brought with me, for variety's sake, my embroidery project. I keep this out of the way in this lovely bag, which was so kindly and sweetly gifted to me by Marlene, Stitching by the Lake, along with a Notions bag. The embroidery project currently looks like this. I'm trying to think what did I finished the hearts and some of this blue, light blue border. It's at a good stopping place right now. What has left to do on it is this area here, and these areas are not going to be blank. I just didn't draw in what goes there because I was worried about it. Basically, it's 3 clusters that look like these, and I didn't want to draw them in because I wasn't sure about the coverage. I'll just be able to figure out where they go. This design comes from this book called Freestyle Embroidered Mandalas. I've talked about this book before. This particular pattern, I'm doing a totally different color version, and you could just see how different color version, totally different look. But I still have a little bit to go. And then there's beads that will go on this as well. So that was my embroidery project that I worked on. Get this out of the way. Oh, and then there was a freebie table. It is always fun to peruse the freebie table. There wasn't much that, I'm pretty good at restraint. I don't need a whole lot of things. I know what I am and I'm not going to stitch. The one thing I did pick up was Debbie's designs. Not that I think I'm going to actually stitch it. I just very much admire her clear and concise instructions. And as I want to continue working on designing canvas work and expand in that direction, it is always good to have good examples to follow. So I just, whenever I can get my hands on these, I will. And, who knows? I mean, it's a neat design. I might do, if I did something with this, I'd probably do it in different colors. But truly, I picked it up because I know Debbie does great instructions, and it's always good to have the inspiration at hand. That was my only pickup from the freebie table. What else is there to say about StitchFest? I had a great time, and other than a long rainy drive home, it was a great little getaway. And that's when I signed up for it. I signed up for it. Actually, I was on a wait list, but then got in, and I knew it would be good to have something after the New Jersey retreat, something frankly to look forward to, and that's what it was. It was really great. So many wonderful stitchers there, so much, just a lot of fun at a great hotel. It will be happening again next year. It'll be at a different hotel, but only about a mile away. And I have no reason to believe that I won't. I hope to be able to attend it again. It was just wonderful. Since I came home, I am in between Works by ABC projects. I hope by this point next week I will be starting up another Works by ABC project. I've got all kinds of plans that are in the pot right now, but because I don't have the materials that I need for what I'm doing, I'm spending a few days stitching on the English Whitework band sampler, or the English Whitework sampler. This started this. When did this come out? Or not come out? When did this whole idea get started? I saw Vanna post it and on Instagram, and it was just one of these things like, that's what I'm in the mood to do. And within a week or so, because my LNS had it in stock, I was able to get started with it. So discovering that the eyelet letters are a bear to get through. I did get out this navy, here, this makes it a little bit easier to see. I did make it through that band, which is the first half of the alphabet, finished that last night, and I was thrilled to be done with that. Now, keep in mind, there's a whole second half of the alphabet to get through. And if we're going to be really precise, there is a second alphabet that is also charted to be in eyelets. Decision already made. That second alphabet I will be doing in Smyrna crosses. Is that what I'm doing it in? And another stitch. As this has already been discussed on like Instagram posts and stuff. I do absolutely need to do the second half of this in eyelets because it needs to just be finished in the same way. The picture on the front is just not, I could barely show you, where am I? Here's that band that I'm halfway through right now. The next comes the second half of that alphabet. And then after that comes a really large and interesting looking band. So I'm just looking forward to a lot of neat stitching going on here. And it will be a project that I'll work on in between Works by ABC things, just as they come along and as needed when I need a break from doing whatever cross stitching or Works by ABC stuff that I'm working on. So, look at that. I have gotten through the main parts of everything that I'm going to talk about, and it's not even 40 minutes. How did I do that? So I wasn't sure if this was going to fit in or not, but I guess it is. So the last time I was here, I was sharing a book on color, and I quoted some passages. And when I was going through my last video, particularly looking for people who had entered the giveaway, there were a number of people who commented that they would love to hear more from that book. And it made me realize that I haven't read much more of the book since the last video, Life. But when I did read more of it, I realized that a lot of the stories that are in there just didn't make for good Flosstube video stories. Like the quotes that I read aloud, which came from the various introductory sections, were way more interesting than something that I could find to quote from. I mean, there was a little story about violet, and there was one other color, and I thought, well, should I just read these couple? But I thought, no, enough people were interested about color. I thought, well, what I could do is share a couple of other books that I have on color. So where am I? This little small shelf right here is my color books, not coloring, although I think there's actually one or two coloring books there, but books on color. And one of the things that becomes challenging if you're looking for books on color is like color theory and so on. It seems like a lot of them fall under two categories to me. One of those categories is like from an artistic point of view, like if you're mixing paint. And the medium that we all use, or at least I'm assuming most of you out there, is about thread. And we don't mix thread in the same way you mix paint, because if I put together If I lay a yellow thread next to a blue thread, that doesn't give me green. That gives me a yellow thread next to a blue thread. And that might give a certain look, but that's not the same as having a drop of yellow and a drop of blue and them mixing together in Paint World and what happens. So that's why a lot of books on color theory don't quite connect with those of us who are interested in color in needlework. The other kind of color books that seem to exist out there is like in home decor. You know, what happens if you put a red pillow in a room that has, you know, all white, or, you know, decorating things like that, which is really interesting. And you can pull out some interesting color pieces from that. But I haven't found books like that to be super helpful to me when it comes to designing or my needlework interests. So the books that I do have really are those few that I have found under other categories. And I wanted to share, I have two of them that I pulled out to share with you briefly. This first one is called Colorworks. It seems to be out of print, but you can get used copies for not, like, one of the first things that popped up was like Amazon charging like $180. No. But you can get used copies for like $20, $25. Okay. So The Crafter's Guide to Color. And what I liked about this book when I got this years ago. And one thing that I found most interesting was, like, in the introduction, the author more or less says some of that very same thing I just said, that color theory books are often about mixing paint. And she wanted to write a book that was something different. And so what she has on multiple pages are 9 things. And her samples are using 9 different mediums. So this is with it just using the green family. These are all in greens. And from the top, she's got hand-spun single yarn, Fair Isle knitting, hand-pieced warped weaving, hand embroidery, bead embroidery, surface design, machine embroidery, pieced quilting, and paper collage. And those are all crafting mediums that do not involve, when you mix the pieces together, whether they're paper, whether they're yarn, whether they're thread, they don't literally mix. It's about what happens when they're laying near one another. So she talks about color theory like hues and values, saturation, but basic color relationships. So I knew some of this stuff already. So things like, for example, complementary colors. So if you have, here's a little bit of color theory. If you take a color wheel, complementary colors, if you don't already know this, and probably many of you already do, but complementary colors are colors that are across from the color wheel from one another. So for example, purple and yellow are across the color wheel from one another. So on page 30, here I am. Here are her 9 mediums, whatever the plural is using an example for changing contrast with complements. And what does she mean by changing contrast? Well, whether it's darks versus lights, and again, I'm going through very quickly, but that's what some of what the reading is about. Or, for example, page 70 was another one that I picked out. On a color wheel, you have triads. So a triad on the color wheel is when you have a perfect, like, triangle. So for example, this triad is yellow, green, red, orange, and blue, violet. Okay, and so here are her 9 medium using those colors. And here's a bit of discussion talking about what happens when you have colors that are equidistant from one another on the color wheel. And then she goes into more, like, there's more in depth than what I'm describing right now. But again, for me, there was so much to be said about how she focuses on the mediums that she's talking about and not mediums that don't make sense to me. Here's the page about hand embroidery, which is as close as we might get to cross stitch, okay? And her design process for coming up with this particular little example. And for a small embroidered wall piece that would remind me of spring, I thought of irises. I came up with the perfect color harmony, the split complementary. So that's when you do complements, but then instead of directly across from the color wheel, on one of those sides you do, go back to the color wheel. So absolute complements would be like the purple and yellow. Split complement is when you take like the purple, and instead of purple with yellow, you might go purple with that green and that yellow green and that yellow orange, or something like that. Now the actual colors she used, did I get it right? Red, violet, yellow, and green. So I didn't get it quite right on the color wheel. She's talking about the contrast between the colors. She chose saturated version, dark version, and a toned down version. So she's already spent time in this book talking about those words. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but to me, it was really fascinating to read things like this and to get what values, to understand major and minor values and the keys. There's a lot to be said. And then her whole back, there's all these tools, which I've never ripped out, but you can rip out and use them against actual things like pieces of fabric and threads. So this book, Colorworks, A Crafter's Guide to Color by Deb Mintz. And then a little bit closer to home to our world is Color Confidence in Embroidery by Trish Burr. Love the Trish Burr books. This one is, well, I was about to say is very different from her others. I shouldn't say very different. That's too strong a word. Again, focus on color theory words like complementary and so on, but she uses the common language of DMC. So she can talk to us about, hold on. So she is talking about embroidery, and there is a lot of talk about shading and all of that, but here she can talk about warm colors and cool colors. There have been times that I've gone to this book to look for things like, hold on, let me get to the creating shadows, combinations. You know, to look for color combinations like she's pointing out here. Really helpful. To look for, here we go. Color combinations that are considered whites and naturals or pastels. Vibrant colors, contemporary colors, antique colors. I had a bookmark in a little piece of paper in this, so I know there was a point I came to this page and was looking at what was considered antique colors. And again, this is all DMC, so it's a common language for us as needlework people. Here's a whole discussion on complementary colors. And here you go. She's using these, and it's very helpful if you're interested in needle painting, needle thread embroidery like this work, but just in general, if you're interested in what's the main color, the complementary colors, split complementary colors, the triadic colors, what could it look like? Color schemes. Some of these have been inspiring to me when I've been looking for like a color palette to go to. Harmonizing schemes. Design schemes. Like, I think this is interesting. Who decides that this color scheme represents a good year? I don't know. How about Anna Green Gables? As Good as It Gets, the movie. Oh, these are movies. They are named after my favorite movies, although it may take some imagination to see the connection. I had fun compiling them and hope it inspires you to look outside the box for different schemes. So there we go. Now the movie Chocolat, yeah, I can see those colors. So it's a fun book to own. I have used it. And then she does in the back she does have some of her beautiful, well-known embroidery projects in the back. And you know, I always say to myself, yes, one day I will do a project like that, because her instructions are just so impeccable and just so well done. So she has a number of projects with some of her techniques in the back here. Would love to do one of them, you know, with all the free time I have. This is a great book, and this is not out of print. This you can get easy enough. So there's just a little bit of showing some of the color books I have, and I was thinking I might do a little bit more of that, just sharing some of the books that inspire me. I mean, there are some books that I go to often enough, like I'm beginning to work on a design, and I go to my Stitch books up there. Sorry, up there is along here is where I keep a lot of my Stitch books. But there's times where I go to other books for other things, and I thought maybe if there's a floss tube or two when things aren't so long that I could bring out some books and talk about them if that's something people are interested in. So there you go. A lot of exciting things going on. New Jersey Flosstube Retreat 2020. If you are interested, send an email to be on the wait list. New patterns from Works by ABC. Please and thank you for anyone who's purchasing. But remember my sale also, so I hope that encourages some purchasing as well. And a huge thank you to everyone a part of StitchFest and making it a great weekend for myself and for all of us. It's good to have weekends like that. Thank you to everyone who's a part of this community. You all mean so much to me. We all mean so much to one another. We hold each other close. We hold each other up, and that's what makes this such a wonderful place to be. Thank you. Till next time. Bye.